In this video, we'll be covering the basics of QTE and switching. Depending on the character and equip memory, QTE can be a powerful tool at your disposal for winning battles and even preventing casualties. First up, I'll explain everything you need to know about the QTE system. When you're forming a team for the first time, you'll notice that there are 3 colors for each slot: blue, red, and yellow. This means that the QTE action of the character will be triggered by the 3 ping orb of that corresponding color. For example, in this demonstration, I have Liv set to blue and I will start the battle with Lee on red. As explained before, since Liv is set to blue, all I need to do is perform a blue 3 ping and Liv's QTE will be ready for activation. Bear in mind that QTE skills have a cooldown period of 8 seconds, so fulfilling the criteria during it will not trigger the character again. You can pay attention to the character portraits if their QTE is ready or not by checking if the corresponding color glow is visible. Be sure to check what each of the characters' QTE does to better plan for your team strategy. In the next part, I'll talk about some advanced QTE strategies that will be useful in the end game. As you've noticed, QTE characters are invulnerable to damage, but they can also receive healing when timed correctly. This goes both ways if your support is off-field or on-field. In this demonstration, I will show you an example of healing an off-field character using another off-field support utilizing QTEs. Let's watch this again. Over here, I have both Lee and Liv's QTEs ready for activation. Since Liv's QTE is an AoE heal, I will trigger Lee's QTE followed by Liv's almost instantaneously, resulting in her AoE heal applying to all 3 characters. Likewise, this strategy also works when you're controlling a support. Call in B Lucia's QTE, followed by healing with Liv's blue orb. You may be thinking, this method is difficult because it relies on good rolls on the signal orbs. But don't worry, eventually you will own a 4-piece set of Da Vinci. And what Da Vinci does at 4 set is that the equipped character's QTE will also trigger the other off-field character's QTE. This is a very powerful memory and you won't need to time your orbs when you can just activate both QTEs at the same time by triggering the Da Vinci equipped character. For example, I have a 4-set Da Vinci equipped on Liv and am about to trigger her QTE. Notice how Lee's QTE immediately starts flashing after Liv's trigger. Last but not least, switching. Switching is a major aspect of PGR, both for offense and defense, and here's why. First of all characters start with 4 random orbs upon entering the field. This also includes switching, which is a great way to always have orbs to make 3 pings out of. If you recall from my previous video about dodging, the extreme dodge meter is also tied to the individual character, so it's good to always take full advantage of this. The more you switch, the more often you get 4 bonus random orbs for doing it. Secondly, the switching attacks are actually 3 pings of a certain orb, unique to each character. That means more often than not, switching attacks usually fulfill half of their core passive criteria, and for being 3 ping, that means they also gain 12 energy upon switching. I highly recommend making a habit out of this as it will greatly improve your overall DPS and survivability. Not to mention, switching also can be used to get you out of a lock, such as being in the receiving end of an enemy combo. Here are some notes for this tutorial. This is a short and simple video about the core passive system in Punishing Grey Raven. Core passives are unique skills that can be triggered after a certain condition is fulfilled. Your overall output can significantly increase when it's used correctly. There are various places in the game where you can learn each character's playstyle. To get to know more about your character's core passive, you can access the offline training mode in the trial zone under the challenge tab right here. Alternatively, you can also access it from the skill upgrade page. The game generally provides useful tips on the left on how they're played and their recommended strategy. And finally, make sure to do their dedicated tutorial in Celica's class as well as claiming the first time clear black card. As you can see, there are many ways to go about learning how to perform core passives in PGR. Eventually, you know it like the back of your hand with enough practice. And should you ever forget during battle, you can always pause the game and it'll bring up helpful core passive tips for your currently deployed characters. And finally, let's talk about the tricks of the trade in performing core passives efficiently. If you remember what I said in the QTE and switching video, switching attacks are considered 3 pings, and you notice that most of the characters' core passive activations have something in common. That's right, a part of their core passive condition is already fulfilled just by performing a switch-in attack. Take the Grey Raven squad for example. I only need to perform the second half of their core passive, as the switch-in attack already does the first half for me. This is why making switching a habit is vital in the near future. Knowing this trait can greatly improve your orb management, especially in challenging content. And that's it! A relatively simple system that takes a bit of practice and it'll naturally come to you with experience.